The people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
So today is the second Rainbow Coalition in history. I know this may surprise a lot of students of revolutionary history, but the first time this happened was April the 4th, 1969, under the leadership of Chairman Fred Hampton and the Illinois deputy chairman. Today, we're trying to resuscitate that example, not the organization, the example of building base areas in the brown community, the white community, and the black community, because we think that is the best way to leverage collective power against capitalism and imperialism. Its primary function has been since its inception, divide and conquer. And we recognize that. So if that is their method of operation, then it behooves us as revolutionaries to offset that by coming together. We're not doing it because it feels good. You know, all of us, our lives can be taken away from us tomorrow. So we don't take this for granted. This is a job that we embrace, but we embrace it because we know original Black Panthers and original Young Lords laid down their lives to eradicate the filth of oppression and exploitation in our community. So my name is Shaka Zulu. I'm the chairman of the new Afrikan Black Panther Party, and we're going to open this up to Rainbow Coalition talks. We have our elder Panthers here. We have our elder Young Lord here, who are going to advise us when needed. You know, sometimes us young people get impetuous, think we know everything, but these brothers put their lives on the line for this. And so it's their feet that we're standing in, or their shoes that we're standing in, I should say. So all power to the people, brothers and sisters.
All power to the people.
I'm going to flip it over to our Minister of Culture, Kwame Shakur. He's going to talk a little bit about the Rainbow Coalition, why it's needed, and why it's a powerful example of revolutionary unity across multi-ethnic groups.
So this is my first time on the East Coast, so I want to everybody raise your fists, put them up high. This right here represents your uniform. This represents your uniform. This is the power of the people. When the pigs represent their uniform, we got to start representing our uniform. They say the truth will set us free. We say the truth ain't going to set us free until it becomes a material force in itself. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Say all power to the people.
All power to the people.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
I want to start off putting it in a historical materialist context of why the Rainbow Coalition was such a legacy that we uphold today. And it was a critical change in the trajectory of the class struggle in this country. When we look all the way back to 1676 with the Bacon Rebellion, this was a time in history when you had English indentured service and black slaves that came together. Not the first time. It was many rebellions that we don't hear about, but it was a lot of the times that the lower class came together and rebelled against their oppression. But this was a time that changed trajectory of even the ruling class in this country. You had Nathaniel Bacon, which was a part of the aristocratic class that was going against the House of Burgess and going against Governor William Berkeley. So it was a class struggle even within their own class structure and stuff that he disagreed. He wanted to expand into the Native American territories where they wanted to be a little bit more conservative. We don't uphold that particular history. That history right there was still oppressive against, the Native American community. But one thing it did, it showed them once the rebellion happened, when they started to plunder the wealthy farmers, when they started to ransack Jamestown, and even William Berkeley barely escaped with his life. It showed the ruling class in this country, we have to do something about the alliance and the solidarity amongst whites and blacks. So what they do, they institutionalize, after the rebellion was crushed, they started to institutionalize white supremacy in this country. Because white supremacy became a tool to divide the working class so they wouldn't have to worry about these type of rebellions ever happening again. So when we talk about the superstructure and how the superstructure reinforces the economic base, what we mean by that within politics, the law, the value systems, how the religions interpreted the Bible and how they applied it into this society, it was all institutionalized in a way to reinforce the economic base of slavery, chattel slavery in this country. So white supremacy became a necessity materially for them to keep us divided. This was one of the first declaration of war against the people openly in a strategic way. What ensued from that was a lot of the white people drunk the Kool-Aid at this time. You know, they became slave patrols.
Come on, bro.
And reinforced the institution of slavery. So when we talk about the slave patrols led to police patrols, it has a very historical basis to this. You know what I'm saying? Where they reinforced the oppression of the same people that they once was allied with. And this was important for white supremacy because it helped them maintain the system. Because now you have the lower class people divided. You give the white indentured servants, now you give them 50 acres. You know what I mean? So you give them crumbs to make them feel they're part of the system, but they never really was. So when we fast forward to the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King started off with pushing for civil rights. Then he evolved. He like a lot of individuals in the struggle, learned from his experience on the battleground, boots on the ground. He started to recognize that civil rights alone couldn't answer the questions of the people. So he started to evolve. So you get to the highlight of the civil rights movement, you have the Poor People's Campaign, where now Martin Luther King himself, and this is the individual that was all about nonviolence, you know what I mean? And he started to recognize that racism was a byproduct of capitalism. He started to see in the world people was rising up against the capitalist system. He started to see groups over here in the United States, even Malcolm X started talking about socialism, you know? So the collective consciousness of the people was rising. And Martin Luther King recognized himself that we got to go beyond this civil rights. We have to start to push more of a class struggle. And so we get to the the Poor People's Campaign, which was a highlight of the civil rights movement. And this is the legacy that even our most nonviolent, I would say activists, I would even say revolutionary, because he was developing in that capacity. We don't know what he would have ended up becoming once the Black Panther Party came around and started to really heighten his consciousness, because he was an evolving person as well. But then we get to the Black Liberation Movement. We get to Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, making the examples out there with observation and participation, setting up the roadblocks out there, the stop signs to stop, people getting killed in the streets, in the intersection. You see them going to Sacramento, the state capitol, and doing something that a lot of people in this country ain't never seen. Be bold. Frederick Douglass once said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand." Well, they went to that state capitol with demands, and it electrified the nation when this happened. Then we go to Chicago, which was one of my favorite chapters in the legacy of the Black Panther Party with Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was one of the biggest inspirations to me when I was in prison. I didn't know nothing about the Black Panther Party. I was one of the few ones that the COINTELPRO had put out disinformation about, and I thought the Black Panther Party was a black version of the Ku Klux Klan. That's what a teacher told me, what a pastor said on TV one day. It wasn't until I get to prison, do 18 years in prison, that I pick up my first book and start to answer the biggest questions of life. And then I come across this man named Fred Hampton. He gave a speech about power anywhere there's people. And he spoke to me because it was a radical tone that he was giving. It was something I could identify. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that was on the streets that was doing robberies, carjacking, and stuff like this. I could see myself in his words and say, well, what else can I do with my life that's actually beneficial and productive to our community? You know what I'm saying? And what is the circle that I put around my true enemy? It's not the people in our neighborhood that we praying upon. That's what they want. They want the criminal element to continually to reproduce itself. That's why it's set up like it is in our community, pipeline to prison, you know. But once he helped me put that circle around capitalism, and I started to learn about the Black Panther Party, and then when I started to learn about the Rainbow Coalition, that was the total qualitative leap in the class struggle in this country. Because for the first time, we had reanalyzed in a practical way. I'm not saying Fred Hampton and them did look back to the Bacon Rebellion and say, okay, this is what they've been trying to do, keep us divided. But in a practical way, Fred Hampton said, look, what's going on in the white community, what's going on in the oppressed Latino community, what's going on in the black community, what's going on in the Native American community, we fighting the same oppression. And we'll do a lot better if we come together and join hands and unite. You know what I'm saying? When our hands are separated like this, it's a lot more stronger when it comes together in a fist. And this is where the power of the people comes about. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Say all power to the people.
All power to the people.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
So when Fred Hampton put this together April 4th, 1969, with Jose Cha-Cha Jimenez, with Thurman, with the rest of the Black Panther Party, like I said, this was a qualitative leap. And the system saw this, and they was very fearful because they was like, okay, they done something that we've always been trying to prevent from happening. Because the people now, the class consciousness is coming back about. It's not a race struggle. It's a class struggle at the end of the day. That's what Fred Hampton said. He said it's a class struggle, goddammit. And that's what the people start to recognize. And they start to implement programs in the community that start to uplift the community. In the Black Panther Party, we had 64 programs in different parts of the country. And different parts had different social conditions, so we had different programs to meet those social conditions. But it's for the people to recognize that we are the servants of the people. And that the people themselves make history. That's what Karl Marx said.
All power,
you know what I mean? So this is the material force that we want to reunite today. We want to uphold the legacy of the original Black Panther Party. We want to uphold the original legacy of the Young Lords. We want to uphold the original legacy of the Patriots Organization, all the other different organizations that joined the Rainbow Coalition back in the days, like Rising Up Angry, American Indian Movement. You had even Asian groups that joined the movement. Red Guard, you know what I mean? You even had the street organizations that Fred Hampton reached out, because I'm from the Midwest. I work with some of the street organizations out there, and they really educated me a lot about their own history, because I didn't know how much Fred Hampton had really worked with them, but the Vice Wars, the Disciples, and the Stones was a part of that Rainbow Coalition. And when the COINTELPRO came down on the Black Panther Party, when Richard Daley called a war on gangs, they didn't just focus on them, they focused on all of us. Because they wanted to break our struggle and our qualitative leap in this class struggle that we was developing in this country. So this is the legacy that we're getting back to. This is the legacy that we're going to uphold going forward. So today is a historical day. And I know if Fred Hampton was here with us today, he'd be very proud of us. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
I said, all power to the people.
All power to the people.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Let's back the list up. I'm going to pass it right along to one of, I think, an emerging revolutionary leader, someone that has his pulse on the people, someone that is still growing as a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, and I think that it's important that we look at revolutionaries as they are and not what we expect for them to become. You know, and Comrade Susie has stepped, Susie, I apologize, has stepped into the fire of resistance. The moment he donned this young lord uniform, the moment that the enemy government began to aim their bullets at this organization. Whether you're playing revolution or whether you're serious, our oppressors got their guns trained on us. And so I respect this young guy. He's up and coming. We need to walk with him. We need to hold hands. And we need to embrace him in the revolutionary movement because he has earned it. He has earned it. All power to the people.
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 Peace and blessings, everybody. Thank you for being here. If you don't mind, I'm going to scale Kwame. Can you raise your hand up for me? All power to the people.
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 For my elders, pa'lante.
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 Thank you. I appreciate everybody. And I appreciate everybody for being here today. Y'all didn't have to be here. This is where the difference starts. This is where the movement starts, is here. Having these conversations, having people to come together as one. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. It's not about, at the moment, the politics. For me, at the moment. The moment for me right now is getting the people together. Is getting the organizations together to do the work for the people. We lack a lot of effort and planning in our communities. There's a lot of things going in our communities that we're not knowledgeable of. We don't know. We have no clue. There's things going down and things being rebuilt that we have no idea that's going on. So thank you guys for being here. That's what I wanted to start off with. Appreciate it. You know, like Kwame said, you know, the Rainbow Coalition was very important. You know, it really showed that people from the middle class and poor class, you know, have the same struggle, the same problems, the same things that go in our communities have in their communities, especially with the Puerto Ricans and blacks. You know, since the beginning, since 1492, our struggle has started. It didn't start now. It didn't start this century. It started off hundreds of years ago, and we still battling the same problems that we had then. We fighting now. You know, thank God for the elders who set the platform for us to be able to be where we're at today. Because without them and the fight that they did, we wouldn't have a lot of the rights that we do have today. But it ain't ended. We have a lot more work to put in. And with that, that comes the people. So we can figure out how to sit here and organize and come together as one. Instead of worrying about the differences and look for the similarities, maybe we could really start making differences in our community and stop relying on other people to make the differences for us. So for me and the Young Lords and the New Era Young Lords, we here for the people. We here for the new Afrikan Black Panther Party. We're here for the White Panthers. Whatever we could do to contribute, no big or small, we're here, and we're here for the people. And that's all I want to leave real quick for right now.
Absolutely.
All power to
All power to the people.
Pa'lante.
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 All power to the people.
Thank you for that, comrade Subi.
So, two people with an S. It's a nickname.
I slowed
Listen,
it
y'all
up
want
a
to
little
call my name is Edgar, so if y'all feel more comfortable in it, it's fine. I know it don't sound the same, but y'all can use that.
All power to the people. So I just want to state right now that I asked the elders once we conclude our remarks. I asked the elders to ask us some questions. They were there. They were a part of the Young Lords. They were a part of the original Black Panther Party. This man right here, who I love dearly, was a part of the Black Liberation Army. Show that brother right here. Show that brother right there. You ain't got to keep it on there. There you go, right here. Brother Tariq. Brother did 15 years in prison. So 17 years.
Thank you.
This brother right here, Carlos, original founder of the Young Lords.
These brothers right here dedicated their life to the movement. I don't know how long you've been in the movement, exactly what age you started, but if I'm not mistaken, Khalifah started off at like 14 years old. They gave their life, they dedicated everything, all they had to this movement. And it's up to us to carry it on the right way. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
And we can't forget the indomitable, the irreplaceable, the greatest Black Panther to ever live. Young Shaking Down. And let me tell you a little story. When I was in prison, the first Panther that stepped up to embrace us was Conrad Shep. This was early 2000s, and he never wavered in his support for the Black Panther Party. So thank you for that, Conrad. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
So we're going to go ahead and move along and introduce Conrad Justin. comrade that I met who has stood the test of time. He was there during the bad days within the movement, and he continued to stay the course. He's developing the White Panther Organization as instructed by Huey P. Newton, and this is Comrade Justin.
I'm Justin. I'm the representative and leader of the White Panther Party, and I would like to start by saying that I am humbled and in awe of what I'm seeing right now. And one of the first conversations I had with Shaka Zulu and my contemporaries that I tried to organize with in other states in Massachusetts and Connecticut was that, you don't understand, like, these guys are the real deal. And that it gets me so, there's something about that, it makes my blood boil. You know what I mean? It's really, in this modern era, there is a certain level of isolation for people with a revolutionary mindset. And when you find people that have the same mindset as you, it helps you shed off the demoralization that is set upon you by the establishment. When you know that there's people out there that share a common goal and they want to pursue the same revolutionary struggle that you do, it's such a reassuring feeling. I don't know how else to put it into words. And I really want to be able to be a part of this movement. I want to follow the leadership of the new Afrikan Black Panther Party and follow the leadership of the new Young Lords. And I want to be a productive force for reducing racism in my own community and other communities and reducing imperialism. And like, the beginning of my political journey is actually like, I've heard a few other people that are from the same demographic as me say this, but my political journey, I began as a right-wing libertarian that was like a Ron Paul supporter. The only reason why I was interested in Ron Paul is because of his anti-imperialist stance. I never heard him talk about Martin Luther King until later. And then I found out, like, maybe it's something I got. And then from then on, because of my anti-imperialist stance and my interest in foreign policy, I moved on to journalists and advocates like Jeremy Scahill and news syndicates like The Intercept, which no longer retain the same characteristics that they once had. They've become a mouthpiece for the establishment now, unfortunately. From then on, like, there was one speech where Jeremy Scahill said, if being an anti-imperialist and questioning the military-industrial complex makes me a socialist, then by God, I'm a socialist. And that, like, clicked for me in a way that, like, it made me question, like, what is a socialist then? What am I so afraid of? If this journalist I've been following for years, speaking out about how the United States has been bombing brown people in the Middle East for nonstop for over 50 years, if he speaks out and he says that, then by God, I'm a socialist, what am I so afraid of? Why was I, it made me want to research about socialism. And I originally began as like a libertarian Marxist, and even when I first got involved with the NABPP, I identified as a libertarian Marxist, but I became heavily sympathetic to Maoism, Marxist-Leninist Maoism. Like, there was nothing about it that was asymmetrical or opposed to what Marx had already put forward, right? So then I just took that upon myself, and you know, I'm really excited about this, and I really appreciate everyone being here to see this, and I appreciate my comrades coming out with me, and the other 6 people that couldn't be here. Without them, I'd be nothing. Like, without them.
All
power to the people.
And just to reiterate that point, Huey P. Newton said that I am we. What he meant was that all of us together is stronger than our individual pursuits. And I think a lot of times revolutionaries, we carry this baggage of, I could be a 24/7 revolutionary, but I could still join you on corporate America. You know, and you could, but it has to depend on a different level of the struggle. You know, you can't be a revolutionary and sign on to the death machine. I don't care how much you say it's a job. And this is what we hear a lot of in our community, especially with the pig. And we should be clear, the pig is an occupier, a brutalizer. And Huey P. Newton them called them a traducer. And that's what they is today. Almost 1,000 people. This year ain't even over with yet. In fact, we in what, fifth month? 1,000 people killed by the police this year. After George Floyd, after Breonna Taylor. 1,000. So thank you, Conrad, for having the courage and the temerity to turn against your own class privilege.
All power to the people. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Give us a little rhythm, brother. Give us that boots on the ground rhythm. Get some energy in here.
Okay. Throw your fists up one more time. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Say all power to the people.
All power to the people.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
All power to the people.
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 Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
When we say that slogan, that came from when we was out in Indianapolis, and it came kind of like spontaneously when Drayshawn Reed got killed by the police out there. That happened in our neighborhood, and we shut down the streets over that. And I was just seeing how the people was relating, because we brought a different flavor. That when we shut down the street and took over an intersection, we had people assemblies. You know what I mean? Where we allowed the people to come up and tell how they felt behind this young man getting gunned down. When we know that the story that they was putting out was totally false. This youngster had going live on Facebook. They try to say he shot at the police, but we don't never hear no gunshots coming from his cell phone. And he's live the whole time. So we know you gunned him down. Y'all just couldn't catch him because he was too fast. But cause you couldn't catch him, does that mean that he was should have been executed like he was? You know what I mean?
What did Pink say when they shot him?
It's
Drop him in a casket. What did he
it's
say?
gonna be at closed casket.
A closed casket.
Yeah, and they end up he had light brown eyes, green eyes. They end up at his funeral and stuff, like messing up his eyes and everything. But it was during that time when we was out there that I explained to the people, all power to the people, boots on the ground. That is our mass line in a chant. That's like Mao Zedong. When we go out to the people, we ask the people, what is the issues that you find in the community that you want to address and solve? And when you bring it back to us, we'll synthesize it with our scientific understanding of history and stuff. We'll throw it back to you and with programs that we can make implementable in our community. So when we say all power to the people, boots on the ground, that is educating the people through observation and participation, like the original Black Panther Party said, of what it means to apply that mass line. The power comes from the people, but it has to come through the people with boots on the ground, with commitment, with blood, sweat, and tears, like these comrades right here that's been a part of history, you know, that shaped the legacy that we're upholding today, and we carrying that legacy forward. Franz Fanon said in The Wretched of the Earth, he said, every generation out of relative obscurity must discover its mission, fulfill it or betray it. This generation, our mission is reawaken that legacy that these brothers and sisters that been a part of this movement in the 60s, that passed on this legacy to us and told us who our real problem, who our real enemy was. When a lot of us dealt with a lot of self-hate, when a lot of us dealt with a lot of crab in a barrel mentality, a slave mentality that saw the people in our community as the enemy, but not recognizing that the ones at the top was pitting us against each other.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But we started to recognize, awaken our consciousness, and start to recognize by looking at the legacy that these comrades had passed on to us, that this is our legacy, like Franz Fanon said. This is the thing, the mission of history has passed on to our generation today. Where what they've done for us is never going to be taken in vain. We understood what they struggled for. We still have comrades still in prison to this day. You know what I mean? Comrades that's dying every day in prison. Fitzgerald was the longest serving Panther in there. Been in there, over 50 years? You know, some of the MOVE comrades just got out. Janine Africa and Eddie Africa and all them after serving 41 years in prison where they bombed our neighborhoods. You know what I mean? But they call us hoodlums and thugs while y'all plundered the world with y'all imperialist army across the globe, killing millions, plundering millions. You know, establishing neo-colonialism throughout the world and even in this country today. You know, we don't uphold, the black mayors and the black governors and black police chiefs and black city councils. They had that up in Gary, Indiana. But you know what's going on in Gary, Indiana? They knocking us off just like they was down in Mississippi.
Come on,
you know
brother.
what I mean?
That's
So
right.
it's just like Malcolm X said, what's going on over in Mississippi is also going on in the Congo. It's also, and I would say in today's time, going on in Brazil, going on in Honduras, going on in the Philippines, going on in Yemen.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? This is why when we talk about the Rainbow Coalition, we're not just talking about it over here in the United States. We're talking this about the world. You know, when we had chapters, we had Black Panther chapters across the world. You know what I mean? Because we saw the people as not being something that was exclusive to America. We dealing with the same oppressive, capitalist, imperialist, global oppressive system around the world.
That's right.
And we have to waken up the people around the world to say that we have a common cause. When George Floyd happened, that was people around the world standing up. Standing up for us over here because they understand what they going on over there as well as what we've been going on over here for 400 years, what the Native Americans experienced with the genocide that knocked them off. So this is a historical moment. And Justin, I was touched by him. You made me all warm and fuzzy on the inside. but I feel that because this is a historical moment, and I think our generation has an opportunity to really accomplish what our brothers have set out to do back in the 60s, and we plan on doing that today. All power to the people.
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 Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
And that was a good segue because we're going to, first let me give a little backdrop. When we talk about the Black Panther Party, we're talking about this enemy government declaring it the single greatest threat to the security. But it didn't just do it in words, it did it in action. Out of 300 COINTELPRO attacks against the Black Liberation Movement, 297 was aimed at the head of the Black Panther Party. So it tells you where the enemy thought it should lay its resources. And that was because the Black Panther Party had that WIC program, had the food program, had the shoe program, had the newspaper. And so 297 attacks. That meant death, that meant imprisonment, that meant loss of jobs, that meant loss of family, the loved ones, that meant leaving the country. Donald Cox died in France, never to come back. DC, right? Assad is still in Cuba. I mean, we can't be naive about this stuff. These people put their lives on the line, and consequently, they are still around the world. I was reading the other day where they said it's almost 50 ex-Black Panthers and FMLN in Cuba right now. But we don't know his names because these were faceless and nameless cats that did the work. And they had to go underground. And so we're going to talk about why we had to go underground. And there may become a stage where I have to go underground. I don't give a goddamn because I'm here for the people. And I know that this oppressor can only be defeated if the people is organized, and we believe that one day this system will be destroyed. But we have political prisoners, we still have political prisoners, and I'm going to invite up a comrade that is worthy of talking about his comrades that are still in prison and those that still need the support to this day. Come on up and get my seat, comrade, Brother Shep.
All power to the people.
I could have did that right over there.
Yeah, but I'm going to give you the honor, brother. You get the honor, brother. Put that work in.
All power to the people.
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 That's how you do it. I'm Brother Shep, and real quickly, because I want to get to the point about Captain Freedom Fighters. I joined the Panther Party when I was 19, which was old for joining the Panther Party, and it was right in the middle of the split too, so it wasn't exactly enjoyable time because we were at war with ourselves and with the enemy. That's something we need to learn. So before I get into this, I just want to say, keep studying. You got to study. It's extremely important that you do that so you can be able to understand what's going on in the world today and how you're going to move in it. We study for 3 hours every day.
All power.
Every single day.
All power.
So we can talk about that later, but I just wanted to put that out. Our freedom fighters that are captive are old. Most of them have medical conditions where they should be home. That's what we're saying. 2021 is the year to bring all of our U.S. captive political prisoners. Sunday Coley is 84 years old. 84, cancer, just got over the COVID, and they gave him a 10-year hit. Okay? You can't come back to the parole board and deny it for.
You know a little bit of history of Sunyata.
I'll get you, bro.
Yeah, man, take your
I don't
time.
wanna take
I want
too
you to
much
go
time.
right through it, brother. That's right. All power to the people.
All right. Sunyata worked for NASA at one time. Brilliant mathematician, just totally on that. But he recognized it was time to serve the people. Right here in Jersey, Sunyata Coley, Sada Shakur, and Zaid Malik Shakur were ambushed on the Jersey Turnpike, that 9 exit that's around here. And Zaid died in combat. They tried their best to kill Asada. Shot her with her hands up. You know, we talk about that hands up, don't shoot thing. Okay, we can go way back to that. You know, all the ballistic tests show that she had surrendered when they shot her and tried to kill her. Just like they tried to kill Yui, just like they tried to kill Mamiya, and on and on. Sunyata, when he was captured finally from that turnpike incident, they put him in a cage that's illegal to put a German Shepherd dog in. All of our comrades were tortured. You talk about Abu Ghraib and all the rest of that. They learned how to do those tortures on us. You can look at the San Francisco 8, they talk about how they were tortured. Right. You know, pulling nails, they took Sekou Albani's fingernails and toenails, just pulled them out. You know, this is the type of stuff that they did to us. And so those conditions that we're talking about, Russell Maroon Schultz, okay, he's gonna die soon because he has stage 4 cancer. We want him home. He's 77 years old. Okay, small, about maybe the size of this brother, but much more frail. I mean, what is he gonna do? Maybe 30 years ago when he was escaping, he escaped 3 times. Okay, which is what you're supposed to do.
All power
to the people. All power to the people.
Well, Russell can't climb no walls. He can't get away anymore. He needs to come home and spend those last days with his family, his grandchildren, and his loved ones. Yes, sir. Okay, he needs to come home. Mami Abu Jamal, we could go through a whole list of stuff for him. The diabetes, the hepatitis, the cancer, the COVID, on and on and on and on. You know, skin condition that is like every day is ravaging him. He needs to come home. So I have these papers here, and I can tell you from cover to cover, this has a complete story of me. Me is special to me because we're the same age. We were both born in 1954. He joined a lot earlier than I did. He was like Carlito, one of those 14, 15-year-old guys that snuck in. They weren't supposed to be in, but they got in. Okay, I couldn't do it until I was 19. But 40 years, this brother has been locked up.
30 on death row. 30 years on death row.
And that's a victory. Jamila's out, Herman's out, Sekua's out, mentioned the Move 9, and was left them, they're out. I mean, folks are out. We have victories. But we got to bring the rest of them home.
Free them all.
Free them all. So what I want people to do is take as many of these papers, take one for yourself, make sure you read it, and when you're done, sit down together and go through it. That's what we call political education.
All power.
We couldn't sell a Panther paper unless you read it from cover to cover and understood what was there. Because if I sell you a paper tomorrow and you a paper on Thursday, and y'all see each other, y'all come back to me and say, Brother Shep, what's the MPLA? I got to be able to tell you about the struggle in Angola.
That's right. That's right.
And what the leader did. And who was being supported by the people and who was being financed by the U.S. government. I had to be able to tell you this. Not just, fouling people off the page, but no, it was about study and understanding what was going on in this planet. That's why they attacked our people. I was the last distribution manager for the Black Panther paper in the 70s. And picking them up from Kennedy Airport, papers would be laid out, they would urinate on them, they'd leave them in the rain, they would lose them. They'd do anything to stop that paper from getting out. One time he even shipped it to my house in the truck and said, here's the bill. Bill was the price of what it would have been to sell all the papers.
Wow.
Okay, anything they could find, they could do. We found a way to get by that bill. We had the Black Student Union under college have student government pay for the papers. So they never knew, but they did that.
Yes,
but what I'm saying is that understanding what's going on, you have to do that research yourselves. Right. Nobody else is going to do it. You got to sit down and read that paper, this one, and compare what's going on with me. He's internationally known, but then we have the ones who are not known. Who knows who Kamal Siddiqui is?
No power to the people.
Anybody here? Kamal Siddiqui is a father of one of the scholarship course in Newark, Kuya. He has two daughters. The other one, Consisa, from Never Panther System. He's in prison right now because he refused to try to give up asylum. So they went all the way back to the 70s and found some case of somebody getting a machine gun in San Francisco, and they blamed it on him. He's in a hospital in Atlanta, a prison hospital. He needs to come home.
That's right.
You got to learn who they are. I already mentioned who Sunday Yada is. Russell Maroon shows. I mentioned about that. What I need people to do is, these are cards. Okay, they're being sent to the governor of Pennsylvania from Amir and for Russell. Okay, he can sign it right now and they'll be home. Immediately. Pass a little, paperwork that has to be done. Having the board say, okay, we approve it, all that. But he can do it right now, and they will be home. So we want people to take these cards, fill them out, send it to me. We just came from his house recently, which he didn't like. A little town, we went into his house, circled the house, we got broadcasting it, and these are things we have to do. We got to take the fight to the end.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Marches and demos are fine, but when you marching and talking at empty buildings on a Sunday or a Saturday, people are not knowing. You got to march in the community. Put the information out in the community. Set up your offices in the community so that people have some place to go. That's why we have offices all over the place, so that people could go someplace. All right. You mentioned all the programs that we had. We had a pest control program. Okay, and you laugh, but it was serious. Rats were biting and killing our children.
Take care of our own.
All right, and what the solution was, Cleo told me about this. I missed out on that one. They caught the rats and brought them down to City Hall.
And let them go.
Let them go.
Let them go.
They said, if we got to live with rats, y'all live with rats. Let them all out.
Well, that's right. I love it. I love it.
I mean, it sounds like a simple thing, a funny thing, but it had an effect.
Yes.
It's like the laws put the garbage in Lexington Avenue and stopped, all the traffic from going downtown to the rich people. Their garbage got piled up too. So you can figure out ways to do things to get the word out. So I need people to fill these out, take as many as you want, take the papers. If y'all need more, I'm gonna leave you my information. We'll give you more. The next one's about to come out soon. We will be having a Black Panther paper again.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Yes.
Because the internet is all right, but the people are in the street.
And let me say right now, I'm going to commit the money of the Panther Revolution towards this paper right here. Because we believe a paper, like Linda said, is an organizer of the masses of the people.
Yes.
So we need to put up some resources. Let's get this paper back out.
Yes, sir.
All power.
Last
No
but not
problem.
least, what I want to say is this is actually very timely, this conference today. When we looked at the attack on our Asian brothers and sisters, and what we said was, well, we're going to bring that legacy back. I mean, ancestors worked like amazing. So these cards here, on May 19th, there's actually 4 revolutionaries on here you need to learn about, if you don't know who they are. You probably know who Malcolm X is. Born on May 19th. You might not know who Yuri Kochiyama is. She was born on May 19th. As a little girl, she was in a concentration camp during World War II. Moved to Harlem, got married, lived right in the Manhattanville projects, okay, and was a community organizer of Japanese ancestors. Not only that, she was a member of the Organization of African American Unity. All right, with Malcolm. Malcolm used to write her regularly when he did all his pilgrimages and when he went to Africa. He would show you the postcards and everything.
That's right, brother. Tell the truth.
We used to meet in Yuri's apartment in Harlem. Okay, Carl, you can tell you about that too. And have meetings there. Malcolm used to meet there. Okay, so you talk about Black, Brown, and Asian solidarity, it was right there. Okay, brother mentioned the Red Guard. We call them Awukun. Okay, from out, and they were part of that Rainbow Coalition. Okay, coming out of Chinatown. So on this day, we're gonna observe their birthdays, Malcolm, Yuri, and then Ho Chi Minh. Okay, a lot of people don't know Ho Chi Minh was also born on May 19th. And I'll give you something else. Ho Chi Minh lived and worked in Harlem. Okay?
Attended Marcus Garvey meetings.
That's right. That's right.
So it's no wonder that when Brother Tariq was in Nam, when people told him that, this ain't your fight, Black brother, go home, your boy's dead. A lot of brothers were not killed because of that. And then they came back like Brother Tariq and Geronimo Pratt, a lot of, ex-military folks, and they trained us.
Yes, sir.
All power to the
Using
people.
all that knowledge.
That's right.
So we're not just marching or protesting or rallying about please stop Asian violence. No, we're putting programs back. Okay, at the People's Church in Harlem, as people might know, they did it in Chicago, they did it in New York, in Barry, took over the church. We have a pastor there that's a revolutionary theologist, majored in Black Employment Studies. She got her degree in theology, and she's a relative of Lolita LeBron.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So we feed 1,500 people every single Saturday.
All power to the people.
All power to
We're
the
going to be out there
people.
tomorrow doing that. This or that, we got folks that's going to Chinatown, okay, where they're training people in self-defense down there on that same day. All right. We have a mural, which you'll see on the back. This doesn't do it any justice, but you can go online and see the work. Carlito led that restoration, because the mural was first done in 2016. And then we got Weber and everything. So we said, we're going to hold our press conference right in front of that mural with Malcolm and Yuri. And you'll see a bridge there about connecting bridges. Okay, that's Rainbow Coalition. Okay, that's what it's about. It's about working with each other in solidarity, about putting your programs in the community. And last but not least, I'm gonna keep saying, we gotta bring our freedom fighters home. No other people allow their political prisoners to stay in prison but us. Every other country they fight for, and they make sure they come home because they make that sacrifice. And we can't allow 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds to stay in. Michelle McGee, okay, is 80-something. He's come home.
How many people are familiar with Michelle McGee? Tell them a little bit about Michelle McGee, Conrad Sherman. Good. All right, well, go ahead, young brother.
So, Soledad Brothers. Everybody familiar with George Jackson, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a situation where some pigs got killed at one of the. It was a couple of prisons, I think, San Quentin, and anyway, long story short, Jonathan Jackson was trying to.
George was killed in San Quentin, but they came. The Soledad was there. What it was other. I'm saying because this is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of George Jackson. He was killed in 1971, August 21st, 1971. Assassinated. And anybody that has not read Soledad Brother or Blood in My Eye, that should be on your reading list. Okay. Blood in My Eye is not an easy book to read, but if you read Fanon, Wretched of the Earth, you can handle it. That was required reading for us too, including dialectical materialism and all the other blah. Take what you can from revolutionaries and use that, what that applies. Okay? If you say you do if you study Marxism, you can't be called Marx. That was 1970. Things are not the same now, so you take what applies.
That's right.
Study Patrice Lumumba. That's right. Study all revolutionaries. I don't gonna say their name or the name, but study them all. Take what you need. So, Jonathan was trying to actually take over a radio station and put out the information about his brother being captured. And the prison, the court guards and stuff, they actually let them go. But there were prison guards that were down the road who saw that, and those are the ones who opened fire on him in that van. They killed the judge, DA, wounded somebody, a politician. They didn't care. Michelle's the only one who survived. Okay, and they put that on him. So he's still in prison now for that. But send your info back to Jericho. Jericho movement will give you all the history of the political prisoners. I'm gonna leave my cards here. Hit me up on the email. We have a network of over 8,000 community organizers, revolutionaries, and people that are interested in the struggle. It's a private network, so if you were on the network, you would have got the information about tonight. You put that in there. All right. So if you're doing projects and you're doing stuff in the community, we'll promote it. I run all the community affairs for Zulu Nation across the planet. But I do not promote hip hop because it's not for the community. All right? So culture is a weapon. If you're not using it for that, it ain't happening. Not through our department, community affairs, we ain't happening. It's like we're going to Cuba in November for Hip Hop Humanity. So I want to thank folks. The buttons there are $1. You see somebody there you don't know, ask me, you get some political education. I mostly brought our Captain Conrad's there because that's what I really wanted to talk about. So you got 3 things to do. Grab the papers, give them out, fill out the cards, mail them to Wolf. Try to come to Harlem if you can on this day, May 19th. After we have our press conference and our event, we're going to join December 12th movement when they shut down 125th Street every year. They shut all the buildings down on 125th and respect Malcolm X.
And let me say, we did that last year. This is where I first met Comrade Carlos face to face. But I was honored to be a part of the shutdown on 125th, and let me say they turned up. It's a festival of the oppressed. I enjoyed it. So thank you for inviting me, Comrade. All power to the people.
Power to the people.
Comrade Shepard.
some rings. Okay, I got a few Panther rings left. Black Panther rings, but I got some White Panther rings. Everything this year supports our political prisoners. Otherwise, I will put it out.
All power to the people. Thank you for that, comrade.
What's the call?
Freedom more!
What's the call?
Freedom more!
All power to the people. That was amazing. Thank you for that history, comrade, Brother Shep. I just want to also emphasize that these particular individuals that we talked about were young. These were 13, 14, 15-year-old revolutionaries that ran the breakfast program, that ran the medical program, that ran the political education. I know some of us, because we're 35 and we graduated from Harvard and Yale, we think we know everything. But they had 15, 16-year-old comrades teaching theory on economics, on sociology, on politics. This is what these young people was doing back then. They took the information they got out of the enemy colonial school and brought it back to the community. So don't let nobody tell us that young people can't serve on the front lines. In fact, it was young people that was responsible for the revolution. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the
I
people.
want to pick a comrade on the spot. I know he didn't come here to speak, but I want to hear some of his wisdom around the young Lord. Come on up here, Carlito. I'll apologize. I'll get you up here. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people. All power to the people. There's a lot of stories. A lot of stories that cannot be told in one event. My name is Carlito, and we gave ourselves nicknames to disguise our identities on the street. We didn't want the police informants in East Harlem to know who we were. And East Harlem was historically the most surveilled community throughout the United States. And the FBI used to brag about that. I joined the Young Lords at the age of 14. And I met Chacha Jimenez at the very first Chicano moratorium in Denver, Colorado. Prior to that, I was busy purse snatching. I was sniffing glue. I was doing break-ins. All of the fun things that a 14-year-old would like to do. Okay? I was lucky. And it wasn't because I got the blessings of a spirit coming down from the sky. I had the blessings of a leader of the Black Panther Party, Bob Collier. He was the one that pulled me out and saved me. And he threw my ass on a bus destined for Denver, Colorado, to the first Chicano moratorium. And it was there that I met Cesar Chavez, I met Jorge Gonzalez, and I met Chacha Jimenez. And it was a no-brainer what was to happen in the days after that. I became a young lord when I came back to New York City. There were a lot of things that I learned. I learned how to take garbage that the sanitation would not pick up in the Puerto Rican community. And we used it we weaponized it basically. And used it to block the main arteries, lit it up on fire. Nothing was able to move. And when nothing moves, it has its effects on the entire political scenario. And we also patrolled our communities. Whenever we saw the pigs arresting our people, we intervened, okay, and liberated them, and gave the biggest ass whipping to the pigs in the streets.
All power to the people.
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 I'm able to say that freely because there is such a thing as a statute of limitations. What is
is the significance of the Rainbow Coalition? Okay, it's something that we should embrace, and we have to study, as Brother Shep had emphasized. Like the Black Panther Party, it was mandatory of us to read. And I was illiterate when I came into the Young Lords. And I learned how to read with Mao Zedong's Red Book. I learned how to read with Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. I learned how to read with Frantz Fanon. I learned how to read because somebody sat my ass down and told me, if you want to be a young lord, you better learn how to read.
All power to the people.
You better learn how to read revolutionary theory. If you think, if you have the smallest iota of notion that you can become a revolutionary without nourishing your brain, with a revolutionary understanding and a revolutionary that sense of direction, you gotta be kidding. Okay? Because that's like a horse being blinded on the racetrack. Okay? You cannot move forward. We have to understand who we are. We need to understand our history. And when I say ours, I don't mean just Puerto Rican history. I mean revolutionary history, the history of the revolutionary movement in this country. We, meaning the Black Panther Party, the Young Lords, the Iwakun, we were basically communist youth. That's what we were. We were communist youth. Okay? We wanted a socialist society. We overtly called for the demise of the capitalist system. We called for an end to the police state. And we weren't calling for, succeeding in those things by, having a say in the Democratic Party. We actually called for the overthrow of the U.S. government.
All power to the people.
All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people.
We actually called for an overthrow of the capitalist system. Why did we do that? Is what needs to be studied. We also need to study because the world has changed. Okay, the world has changed. There were circumstances why I'm still alive today. Okay, there was reasons why when we took over that church with shotguns and carbines, why was it that the police did not storm us?
Come on, brother.
There was reasons why when we patrolled the streets, we were able to liberate our people from arrest. I mean, I remember one day we were patrolling the streets and the police was arresting someone who needed to be arrested. Okay, we would have done that ourselves because he was selling some heavy, dirty dope on the streets. And the cops asked us, "Is it okay if we arrested this one?" And they explained to us what was he doing. We told him, let him go. We'll deal with him ourselves.
All power to the people. All power to the people.
When that happens, that can only happen under certain circumstances, and it's good. It's good to have rhetoric because rhetoric is good, believe it or not. Because rhetoric is like a slogan, but slogans have to be substantiated. Okay, they have to be substantiated. When you go to a dance, you put on your best vines, but that doesn't make your character suitable to match up with the dresses that you got on.
Come on.
So in politics, the same thing goes. You have to build up. You have to build up to actually, in the truest sense, represent that stature. And that requires building a movement. Because as long as a movement does not exist, it doesn't matter how bad we end up looking like. The young lords of the past are dead. Okay, they were buried. And the last time I looked, when I went to a cemetery, you can't bring back the dead. Okay, the world has changed. And if you look at American history, U.S. history, i.e. black history, it's like a flowing stream, you know? The water is not the same at one point as it is in another. You know, history is in constant evolution, you know? Our movement is in constant evolution, you know? The rulers are also in constant evolution. You know, the way they repress us in the past is not the way they repress us today. Back in the past, it was easy to identify the pigs. Now, you see them with droopy pants. Come on. And they'll pull handcuffs on you, and you swear, what the fuck? You know, that's a cop? You know? You know, so when we you know, involve ourselves in politics, you know, because all of us come into politics for different reasons. Okay? We all come into politics for different reasons because we all have different lenses. We don't look at the same thing identically as the next, but we look for that commonality. Okay, we look for that commonality. The young with the old, the nationalities, the various races. Okay, we are compelled to look for those commonalities. And in building a new movement, that is what we have to prioritize. What are the commonalities? Because we already know that the differences are there. Okay? We know that the differences are there. You know, differences come 2 for a quarter. That's how many differences there are. You know, but it's the commonalities that we are trained not to see. Okay? And it is that we have to begin to train ourselves, you know, to look for. Because the Rainbow Coalition was one of the dopest things that happened in history. You know, when Fred Hampton called for the Rainbow Coalition, it was the reason why he was assassinated.
All power to the
Okay,
people.
you know, and there must be something sensitive to the rulers that they cannot handle when people unite. Okay, when people are able to put their differences to the side and look for those commonalities. You know, because that's what the Black Panther Party was. You know, because I was a street thug, okay, when I was a kid. Okay? And if I can be transformed due to revolutionary politics, imagine what we can do to this in this world. You know, change from the top down.
Yes, sir.
You know, and that is what every individual here who sincerely wants to change the world has to strive to become. You know, because as Che Guevara put it, you know, a revolution is also within. You know, we have to change our outlook because we are constantly poisoned by the dominant ideology. And that cannot go through the processes of transformation unless we embrace revolutionary theory. Yes, and I'm going to leave it at that. You know, I always end my talk by saying que viva Puerto Rico libre, because I fight for Puerto Rico's independence by weakening these motherfuckers right here.
Power to the people. All power. Thank you, comrade.
All power to the people. All power to the people.
So, we gonna conclude this.
No, we're not going to conclude it. I wanted you to do the boots on the ground. Because I want to do but let me say what we're going to do. When we conclude, we're going to march out of here, comrades. We're going to do it slow. It was a killing right up the street. Senseless killing where a guy that served a street force, a lumpen force, he served that out, served the people program. So I went up there, I talked to some of the blood leaders up there, and I said, we're going to come up there and pay our respects, the Black Panther Party and the Young Broads and the White Panthers. And they said, all power to the people, right on. So that's how we're going to conclude. We're going to go there. It's only a couple feet up, and then we're going to come back here, and then we can make merry after that. Okay. But right now, let me just, I wanted the brother to give us some boots on the ground, and then we're going to go into the closing remarks.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Again, when we put up this fist, it represents something.
Yes, sir.
It represents something. It represents our natural uniform. You know what I'm saying? Our class uniform. Our uniform that's been oppressed for hundreds of years. But we saying that until we start to become this fist, and we start to recognize this natural uniform, no matter our nationality, no matter our sex or our sexual orientation, no matter where we from, on what side of town, we have to start to recognize this is the only power that's going to liberate us. The Democratic Party ain't going to liberate us.
Sir.
We definitely know the fascist Republican Party that's overt fascist, not to say that the Democrats are liberal fascists, because they use the pigs against us all the time.
Yes, sir.
Even the Barack Obamas.
Yes,
Even
sir.
the
Yes,
Kamala
sir.
Harrises.
Yes, sir.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yes,
Only
sir.
the people is going to liberate us from our own oppression.
Yes,
You dig?
sir.
So at the end of the day, like I said, when we say all power to the people, we have to recognize this. The people in our own community is the liberation force that's going to actually liberate us. This is the mindset that we're trying to change in our community.
Yes, sir.
This is the mindset that we're trying to internalize and show other ones that you can go a different direction in your life. You don't have to go like me and Shaka to prison and do 18 to 20 years. You can actually find it out here because you have the representatives in the community that's going to help you take your life in a different trajectory.
Yes, sir.
All power to the people.
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 Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
All power to the people.
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 Say boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground.
Say boots on the ground.
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 All power to the people.
All power to the people.
And, no, I'm supposed to slide it over to the comrade.
We are the evolution. We are the evolution of the revolution. It starts here, and I want to thank you guys for having us here.
All power to the people. All power to the people. All right, so